Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Okay, so there we have it. The 2021 season is in the bag. Super Bowl over and done with, and welcome along to the flagship show. I am as Dan, and I am joined as ever by the big man himself, Murph. Are you well, sir?
I'm as well as can be. The voice is a little hoarse, part cold from my child, part the fact that I was with you until 5 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, both of those play a factor.
It was a long one. Yeah.
It was a long one. It was a good one. It was a good game. Unbelievable season in the books. But we've got an unbelievable guest to finish it all off with.
We do, and in an unbelievable place as well. As you can see, we are joined by a Sky Sports broadcaster, host of NFL Overtime show, Hannah Wilkes. And Hannah, you are joining us from the back of a car driving around LA, if I believe correct. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Murph, your voice is going. My voice is really barely here. But yeah, we've got a travel day today, so we're trying to see some sights of LA before a few of us have to leave. Our glorious producer Greg is in the front of the car, hopping off to Hawaii tomorrow. So not jealous of him at all. We're just on our way. The main thing today, we've got to do our very own version of Deflategate because we bought some game balls and they are not getting home unless we can take the air out.
So Hannah's going to join us for about 20-25 minutes or so and share with us the experience of being there. And then for anyone watching, you know, if you want to come on after Hannah and talk about the Super Bowl, drop me a DM. The address is just here on the screen. And we'll have you on and we'll talk 5-10 minutes about the Super Bowl. Just to help our voices, if nothing else, but we'll just have fun. But, you know, you're obviously there and you're a Rams fan as well, Hannah. So first of all, tell us what you've been up to since you were last on. And then secondly, how must you be feeling this morning, celebrating a Super Bowl win and being there to watch it?
So when was I last done? It was last Super Bowl, wasn't it? So a lot, really. Done a whole netball season, done a whole NFL season, got married twice, all sorts. So yeah, it's been brilliant. This season's been fantastic. Overtime's been a lot of fun now that we can actually move around the studio and interact with each other because restrictions have been lifted. And just what a season. And then yesterday, it was an incredible day, incredible stadium atmosphere. There's nothing quite like SoFi Stadium. It's actually I think I'm still processing it a little bit. It's like nothing you've ever seen. You actually walk in on level 6. And then the field is 6 stories down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So messes with. Yeah, I know. Everyone's very confused by it. Still takes some computing. And it was amazing. It was so loud. The Bengals fans were unreal. They were really, really, really loud. Like when they were cheering, when they had a good drive going, you could barely hear yourself think. So it was incredible. It was very tense the last quarter, I think, as well. I don't think anyone, no matter who you were rooting for, I think everyone was collectively holding their breath. I was definitely shaking. All professionalism went out the window. So yeah, it was just brilliant. And what a sort of Hollywood ending for the team based in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean it really was, wasn't it? Like the script couldn't have gone much better. To see the way that the game ended with that game-winning drive with the 3 stars of that team, Stafford, Cup, and Donald, all making plays to make it happen. I mean, that was really the big difference in the game. But in terms of for you, because
Von Miller too. It was Von Miller.
Von Miller,
yeah.
But what
he had to get those sacks when he got them.
He did, and you know, credit, and that was where the game was won and lost. It was won on those playmakers, and we'll get into that in just a second. But what's LA like as a host city? Because it's been a long time since LA has hosted a Super Bowl. I think the Bengals were the last ones in there when they did it. And so what was it like as a city to host the Super Bowl? I know the stadium's incredible, but did the city get into it? Because it's been a long time since they've had a team.
Everyone seems to have, and I think it's almost some like British cynicism. Yeah, everyone in LA has been fully into the Super Bowl. We were talking to some fans outside the convention center on Friday or Saturday. I've lost contact of time, and there was a woman there. She's like, "I'm a Saints fan, but I live here. This is amazing. I'm all in. Like, go LA." And that was the general vibe. If you're going to like bring a team back to a city that are then going to be immediately successful, that's the way to win everyone over, right, and get everyone on board. So yeah, I think LA has embraced the Super Bowl. I think there's going to be a lot more people donning their Rams gear this morning. I just had it at the hotel. Someone was like, "Oh, everyone's wearing Rams stuff this morning." I was like, "This is vintage. Thank you very much." No, completely, like, you know, it's been decked out everywhere. Buses, especially downtown, had, you know, at the destination, and it was flicking on to go Rams. Like, it's just been completely embraced. Like, what? Like, it's the greatest show on earth. I don't think there's any way you could take the Super Bowl and it not be fully embraced. Like, just because LA hasn't had football, you know, for the last few years, I don't really think that's factored into it. Everyone's just very excited that they've got it back. Their team is successful. They're Super Bowl champions, and they got to host it as well. It's a city that's made for stuff like this. You know, the parties, the events they've put on, just the look of everything. Everything looks glorious in Californian sunshine. So yeah, fully embraced it.
Yeah, I mean, that sure helps, right? Californian sunshine to make anything look better. So, so a bit on the game. It was quite a cagey opening first half, wasn't it? I think the Rams dominated, but went in at the half only up by 3. Did it feel quite nervy, tense start?
It did, but the beginning of a Super Bowl is always a bit of a chess match, isn't it? Like, both teams figuring each other out, not wanting to sort of do too much or force too much early on. Obviously, that OBJ touchdown, that the place erupted because that was such a quick score, and it immediately meant the Rams were doing better than they did last time they were in the Super Bowl. And yeah, I think it was a bit of, it didn't feel like either side had too much rhythm in that first half. Like, no one was fully like owning it. Although Matthew Stafford was really strong in the first quarter. But it was the second half, that game came alive. The way the Bengals, I think everyone was still reeling from the halftime show and digesting that, and the Bengals capitalised, and that massive 75-yarder to Jamar Chase. And then from there on in, it was on a knife edge, and it was always going to come down because both of those offenses can make big plays, and it was who was going to find a way through the defense. And the Bengals secondary was really impressive. Eli Apple and Cooper Kupp did an incredible job. And I don't think they ever talked about much in the build-up, really, that secondary, possibly to everyone's sort of foolishness, really. But yeah, it was always going to come down to a big defensive play because, especially in that final minute, the Rams, and final quarter as a whole, the Rams just had to stop the Bengals' sort of mojo because of the way they come out firing.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that first half, I think, will be one of those that, because the second half had everything, there isn't going to be that much talked about. And one of the things that probably won't get talked about, but if the Bengals had won, was the Joe Mixon passing touchdown. I mean, they did their own little special. Everyone has decided now they're going to do a special. The Rams tried it, and Stafford can grab it. Cooper Kupp threw it a bit high in the second half. But, you know, that Cincy special to kind of just keep them in the game, because they weren't in the game really in that first half. The Rams dominated everywhere, really. They had the better drives. They looked, even though cagey and they weren't quite fully in control of the game, they definitely had more of the ball, more of the time to possession, looked like the ones that were going to go on and do something significant in this game. But that Cincy special was a good drive, but more importantly, it was a good play from Mixon to make it happen. And T. Higgins was incredible on the night, especially that first half.
It was incredible that whole game. I think Zach Taylor might sort of look back at it and wonder why he wasn't used a bit more and why he sat out some drives, because he was, you know, averaging sort of 5 yards per carry in that game. He was tremendous for them. But yeah, the Cincy special would have been written into folklore had it gone their way. I thought we were going to be talking about the face mask hold there, but whatever, it's fine. We'll let that one go. We won.
Well, that's in the second half.
We'll
get there. Yeah. We'll get there. That was in the second half.
Oh yeah, it's all one at this point. Yeah, it would have been great, and like you said, the Rams trying it as well. But yeah, Cooper. I had literally, when I was making notes, I literally put Cooper Kupp incomplete to Matthew Stafford, slightly overshot it, and had to put a note for myself going, "Yes, you've got that the right way around," just because I knew at some point I'd look back at those notes and be like, nah, that's wrong. Yeah, the Rams did very much. They came out with the confidence of a more experienced team, didn't they? And it took the Bengals a little while to settle, but you know what they can be like in the second half. So you can never write them off entirely just because it was 3-point game at halftime. It's nothing. But yeah, it's always great to see those sort of plays in a Super Bowl because it makes, and that was just such an entertaining game to watch more than anything.
Absolutely. And then the game really turned just before halftime with the injury to OBJ. Went down, no contact injury. We find out about an hour ago it's a torn ACL. That's really going to hinder his chances of getting a contract in the offseason and makes it a very difficult situation now. So we send OBJ's regards and hope he recovers well. And I mean, it was a really difficult moment because he was the superstar in that game at that point. He was the one that scored the touchdown. He was making the plays. It wasn't Cooper Kupp. It was OBJ. It looked like the Super Bowl was made for OBJ to really take control and make it his game. And it was a real shame that he went down. And the Rams really suffered when he did.
That was such a game-changing moment because, like you say, he was so locked in. You could tell he wanted it. He was making plays. He was lighting up. He was stepping up to the moment that he'd fought so hard for and dreamed of. And yeah, your heart immediately breaks when you see something like that, and it's non-contact, and you just think that's going to be one of those things. If someone gets bashed, you think, okay, maybe just need some ice on it, all the rest of it, get back out there. But when it was some completely non-contact, it's something bad. And the Rams really struggled that third quarter. They couldn't get anything going at all. Because they couldn't adjust, and there's not the depth at wide receiver that they'd like when all of a sudden you haven't got Robert Woods and you haven't got OBJ and you haven't got Tyler Higbee. But they got there in the end, which I think shows how Sean McVay has evolved as a coach as well. Because I think if that had happened a couple of years ago, I think we wouldn't have seen the Rams come out of that one. And you know what, as well, everyone was so gutted for OBJ, I was thinking the whole time, if the Rams win this, he still scored a touchdown and helped his team win that Super Bowl. And he's not, obviously he wants to be on the field the whole way through. But if they'd lost, it would have been so heartbreaking for him. But he still did his job for as long as he could. But that was when the game changed.
He was in for a big game as well at the time. He was performing really well.
He was leading the Rams in in yardage when he went down. It was huge. If the Rams had lost, that would have been the moment that everyone would have pointed to.
Yeah, I completely agree. It looked like he was having an MVP game. Everything that was good about the Rams in the first half went through him. And, there's a lot of people that obviously have some thoughts about OBJ and what he's like. But I think he went a long way to restoring that reputation yesterday with the way he played. And, again, wish him a speedy recovery. But obviously they go in at halftime. Bengals must be very happy to go in 3 points down. And I said in the build-up, I said, if the Bengals can keep it close in the first half, they'll have a great chance in the second half to try and win this game. But before we do that, we've got the amazing halftime show. What was it like for you in the stadium to watch that? Because we were in a bar, everyone was on their feet, we were dancing, and I mean everyone.
Your last comeback, didn't it? For 10 minutes.
I mean it was.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that in a bar where everyone's up dancing, watching the television screen. It was just unbelievable. What was it like being there?
It was amazing. I was in the press seating, and I said to the person next to me, "I'm really sorry for what might be about to happen." Like this. But yeah, it was brilliant. Everyone had these like the light up lanyards, did the light show. It was just really cool. It was just so cool. What was most fascinating, I think, as well, was how quickly the press area disappeared after the halftime show. I think it was all entertainment journalists. So it just emptied. But yeah, it was brilliant. There isn't anyone I know that didn't enjoy it, and it was awesome to see. And just the way they staged it, you were just like, looking here, there, everywhere. 50 Cent appearing, hanging upside down. I turned around, so I still can't get over it. He was like, "How long was he there? How long was 50 there for?" So yeah, it was fantastic. I did say, I was like, I think they should just stop halftime shows now at the Super Bowl because I can't see how they're going to top that. I feel sorry for whoever that gets next year to follow that.
Well, I said that if they could try and get, Dave from Chaz and Dave and the rest of the Snooker Loopy lot, maybe roll them out for it, just to set the bar a little bit lower. Give them a bit of English entertainment for halftime show. But it was unbelievable. My favourite moment, other than the fact that it was probably one of the best halftime, if not the best halftime show I can remember, is that Evan McPherson decided that he was just going to stay out there and watch it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in that halftime team chat. Like, no, I'm going to watch Snoop. I love that.
I love it. And he's not even just sitting there, he's just getting up there and he's just...
Stood on the bench, wasn't he? Yeah.
Like, he must be too young to know most of their stuff.
Maybe, but I tell you what, he looked like he was having a great time. I was like, anyone who sits there and thinks, kicker's a pointless job, you have to sit there and look at it and go, yeah, but you get to watch the halftime show. That's pretty cool. But unbelievable halftime show. Great. I was worried it wasn't going to live up to the hype. I really was. I was a bit worried, like, how are they going to get everyone to perform? But they absolutely crushed it. And then we get the second half, and I don't know what happened. Maybe the Bengals are big hip hop fans because they came out in that first sort of 2-3 minutes and were like, yeah, we own it.
In a giant stadium with the Super Bowl on the line, what more do you need? Lose yourself, like, hello. And I also think it worked their advantage because I don't know what Zach Taylor does in that locker room at halftime, but they came out firing and pumped them up, and they went, the way they started that second half, it was scary. You think, we've seen this before. We saw this in the AFC Championship game, and I think it was a big wake up call that the Rams needed as well. It was a great energetic first start, and definitely nervy for the Rams fans, that's for sure.
Yeah, and obviously there's the controversy of the face mask call not being given. I don't know how much he grabs. There is contact. I mean, luckily we don't have to debate the merit of that, but it was interesting that even up until that point, there hadn't been many flags. There wasn't really any penalties. They let the game go. Amazing play to get it going.
Ronald Talbot is, I think, one of the best referee in the league. I love him. He's fantastic. So we've got a playlist on the car, and there might have been some fruity language because we are listening to a bit of Dr. Dre.
Don't worry.
So sorry if you heard some swearing.
I don't think so.
I think it's fine. It's only quiet. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, penalties. Yeah, there weren't any in the first half. They let them play, which is great. I mean, penalties are what cost the Bengals the game in the end, though, when it came down to it. You is at first and goal, and with inside the 2-minute warning, they're going to score.
Yeah, I mean that was the issue, wasn't it? Towards the end, but all of them were justified. I even think some of them. I think Eli Apple makes a pass interference call at the end there to Cooper Kupp, and you actually sit there and think, well, if he doesn't do it, he's catching the ball and he's scoring anyway. So I think you've got to do it. Hannah's rocking out starts Trey. I love it. I just thought it was an unbelievable game. And I thought that the winning drive of the game to have Stafford step up in that big moment. He stepped up in the divisional round to win the game against the Buccaneers. He used his man Cooper Kupp again. And those two were terrific in that final drive. It was almost fitting that the man who's been the man all season, Cooper Kupp, people argue he was MVP, steps up and wins the game for him. And I think it was the most Rams drive I think you could have to win a game.
I was there with Brian Baldinger for the fourth quarter, and he was just like, it's going to be Kupp. It's going to be Kupp. No matter how many times they have this opportunity at this goal line, they can keep playing it all day. It will eventually be Cooper Kupp. Like it was always going to be. And inside 2 minutes when it's that close game, I kept saying to myself, this is what Matthew Stafford lives for. He ball in his hand, game on the line, fourth quarter. That is what he does. That's what he's really good at. That's what he's brought in to do. But there was no way it was going to anyone else other than Cooper Kupp. When they tried the QB sneak, I was like, they're just killing time with that. It's getting to Kupp eventually. It had to be. I think Aaron Donald was maybe my Super Bowl MVP because of that. He ended it with that hit on Joe Burrow when it was needed. But I mean, Cooper Kupp has defied all and what should be feasible for a season. So kind of fitting that he got the game-winning score and then Super Bowl MVP to crown it off.
Yeah, because that final drive from the Bengals, plenty of time on the clock. They've got a minute and a half. They've got timeouts. You're sitting there thinking, could McKixon take them all the way to overtime? I thought it was going to overtime. I'll be honest. I thought they were going to score there. They get to midfield and you think, yeah, they only need another 15, 20 yards and then this game's going to overtime. And then, they get to 3rd and 1 after great plays from Mixon. They hand the ball off to P. Ryan in the inside. You think, don't know why you've done that. You've gained nothing. And then fourth down, I think they got a little greedy. They only had to get that yard, and they went for the go route. They went for Chase over the middle to try and win it. And he beaten Ramsey in coverage, but Donald and Miller were just like, ain't happening. And they shut it down. And it was fitting for the best defensive player in the game, arguably the best defensive player maybe of all time, or he's certainly going to be in the conversation now, ends it the way he does, and he sticks his finger up and says, give me the ring. I mean, incredible. What was that moment like when that fourth down happened in the stadium? What was the noise and the atmosphere and everything like as that played out?
Off by a Mexican television broadcaster to our right for jumping up and down and making the platform shake to give you a sense of it. All professionalism went flying out the window. The place erupted. I mean, it had kind of gone off a little bit when Kupp scored that touchdown, because I think the belief level at that point was, yes, Joe Burrow's getting the ball back, but he was banged up, so there was going to be a limit to what they could do. And of course, defense wins championships. Like, you saw the reaction. Donald ran the whole length of that field. It was incredible. The roof almost came off. I mean, the sort of Bengal side of the stadium just sort of dropped down to silence, and all the blue in there just lost their minds. And it was, more than anything, I was just watching the sideline at that moment, and just the reaction from every single coach, player, cheerleader, everyone associated with the Rams, because they all, like, you could just, they've done the thing.
Yeah, I mean, incredible to see. Final question for me, because I know you got to go. What's something that like that experience in the stadium? We can only see so much of it on television. What was something that happened in the stadium that we wouldn't have seen or heard or been able to kind of experience at home for those that were watching it?
The length of time those guys stayed out there when it was all said and done. So the trophy's been lifted, the interviews have been done, TV's all home, and those guys still out there doing snow angels in the confetti and playing with their kids and just like jumping on each other and like pointing at their champion t-shirts and just soaking up every single moment. Like they were out there for a solid hour after that game ended.
Oh wow.
Just breathing it all in. That was incredible. Just to see how much it really means. It's, we saw OBJ bawling his eyes out, and you see you see the reaction, you see what it means to them, but the fact that they were there for as long as they could before heading off to the party, or in the case of Van Jefferson, running to the hospital because then he became a dad. Like, what a day.
Yeah.
He must be exhausted.
Like 90 minutes later, he runs off the field. 90 minutes later, he's got a kid in his hand. It's like...
Yeah, exactly. Just like wild. Someone actually saw his partner being basically stretched out of the stadium because she'd obviously gone into labor. Like, she was there. So yeah, it was just watching what it means to those players and watching them soak up the moment. That was really special. That
was amazing. Taylor Rapp got engaged as well. He proposed to his fiance, well, now fiance, on the field. Amazing. Look,
I haven't seen.
Oh, go ahead.
The ring, but I hope it's a big one because he's about to get some ice.
I don't think it's going to be as big as his. But look, we got to let you go, Hannah. Just tell everyone where they can find you and interact with you and share, especially Rams fans who want to share the love of being Super Bowl champions with you.
On a netball court around the country covering the Super League for Sky Sports. If you're trying to track me down, Twitter and Instagram, I'm Hannah J. Wilkes.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you joining, and enjoy the party in LA. Hope you're off to some good ones later, and embracing the celebrations.
We're literally going to find a ball pump. That is our glamorous holiday in LA. Like, that's it. Anyway, bye guys.
Thanks Hannah. Bye.
Later. Wow, that was a treat. Right.
Back to the cold, dark, miserable UK life, right? And me and you.
Yeah, well, we can't all be out there. I'm glad she joined. It's, it's always nice when you speak to someone who supports the winning team, and get their feelings. But someone who was there and kind of describing the scene to us was special. So I'm pleased for her. I spoke to her. Well, it must be 2 weeks ago at the event in London, and I knew she was so excited to be there, and she was quietly confident it was going to happen. So I'm pleased that she gets to experience that, and just a great follow. Go follow her on Twitter and engage with her, because she's just really lovely person, and knows her stuff. It's great.
It is. So what now for the Rams, do you reckon? Now they've won this ring, Mark.
Excuse me. Well, there's a lot to consider now. I don't really know. I think we look at the Rams and we think what can they? People looked at last year with the Bucs. I think they're going to struggle to build on it. You looked at the Bucs last year and they managed to get everyone back. The Rams aren't going to be able to do that.
No.
They're not going to be able to do that this year. They've got two things going on right now. One is the cap space, and two is the free agents. And when you win a ring, people want to get paid, and that's going to be hard. I'm just looking at who they've got as free agents now, so I'm just pulling it up this second.
OBJ, agents.
OBJ. Now that's going to be interesting because of his injury.
I mean, they can probably cover that. Robert Woods coming back if he comes back healthy early in the year.
Yeah, I mean, so we're looking at these are some of the names that we've got here.
Von Miller, I think, is a free agent.
Brian Allen, the center, he's a free agent. Unrestricted OBJ. Austin Corbett, the guard. Mm-hmm. We've got Andrew Whitworth, who we think is probably going to retire.
He's going to retire, yeah.
Matt Gay, the kicker, he is a free agent, but he is restricted.
He'll
so they can. I'm sure he'll resign.
Yeah.
Dante Dion, not a massive. Trayvon Howard, they got exclusive rights on. Buddy Howell, not important. Sebastian Joseph on that D line. So Sony Michel, Von Miller, Joseph Noteboom, again, another offensive line. So most of this offensive line. I'm just looking to see if there's anyone else. Darius Williams, Troy Reader. There's quite a number of names here that are going on to free agency that they're not going to be able to pay because there just isn't that many. There's not that much money to go around, unfortunately, for the Rams. I think they'll make some things happen, but I'm looking at their cap situation. They're $10 million over right now.
Okay.
Some things do help them out, so they get under from the Gurley deal is gone from their books, so they don't have that much dead cap, only about $1 million in dead cap. So that's fine, but they still have, and they've got a good healthy amount of players on their roster, but they've got to make a decision what to do. I mean, one of the things they have got is Matt Stafford's on a pretty friendly team deal, $23 million. Ramsey, Donald, they're on big money. Cup, decent money. If Whitworth retires, he could forfeit a significant amount of money there.
Might someone like a Von Miller call it a day as well. Now he's a free agent anyway, it's not going to affect the cap.
He's a free agent, so I can't see the way that they can keep Von Miller unless he decides he's going to take a below market deal. But the one thing with the Rams is they've got some talented young players, but they're not going to be able to replenish in the draft. They have next year. They have 3 draft picks. They have 1 in the 5th round and 2 in the 7th.
They don't like draft picks, though. The Rams.
No, but when you can't afford to sign free agents, your draft picks are going to get you. So the fact they've got no draft picks in the first 4 rounds, the Rams don't need to. Rams fans don't need to watch the first 2 days of the draft. They're not in it. So the difficulty is you're going to be losing your offensive line or a good chunk of it. You can't replenish that. Like, you're going to really struggle to replenish that. There's not that many great offensive line free agents this year. There's a few. Getting them to go cheap will be one thing. I think this is where the Rams have got some conundrums to solve.
There'll be a
I'm not saying it's impossible.
In a contract somewhere. Yeah, there'll be void years added and things like that.
You can void some years. You can look at players maybe giving some money back. Donald and Ramsey have restructured money. Cup's restructured money. Woods they've all restructured money, so maybe they restructure again. These are the sorts of things that they can do. The good thing is they don't have as much dead cap this year, so that's going to help them. to do some of this restructuring and move some money into future years. But 10 million over, it's tight. Like, I mean, they don't need any money for draft picks, but they got to free up some money. They can do that, but to get new players in, especially offensive line players, because I'm looking at who they've got under contract on the offensive line. Assuming Whitworth comes back now, if he doesn't, they do save a load of money.
I don't think he will, but yeah.
And I don't think he will. And if he doesn't come back and they save a load of money there, I mean, he's paid top end left tackle money, not like elite, but top end.
Yeah.
It does mean that if he goes, you're going to have to sign a cheap left tackle, which guarding the blind side, that's going to be tough. They do have Haverstein there, but I don't think they've got a lot of experienced tackles, or I don't even think they've got a center on the roster for next year. I'm just looking now. I can't see one. Oh, they do. They have Drake Jackson, who I don't think has played a game in the NFL. So I don't think they're going to be able to retain this O-line, and I think that's going to be the thing. If I'm looking now on them repeating, that's the problem they've got to solve. If they can solve that, I think they can go somewhere, but that's the big question. And then what do you do with Stafford? Do you keep him for a year? I assume you probably would. It's a team-friendly deal. I wouldn't. Yeah. 23 million doesn't sound like a team-friendly deal for quarterback. It's a pretty good deal. So, yeah, I think it's a kind of... I look at the NFC now, and I think every team in the NFC has problems. So their chances of coming back are, if they can sort the O-line, are pretty good, because every team now in the NFC is in flux. The Packers, we don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. The rest of that division isn't worth really looking at.
Nope.
No offense. The East, you got Dallas. They're in a pretty good spot. You would expect them to probably be amongst the favorites, especially Dan Quinn coordinating that D. You'd expect them to probably be the favorites in the NFC next year. But they haven't been there for 20 odd years. It's 30 years nearly. So it's a long time. Then you've got the South. That's a car crash division. The Buccaneers don't have a quarterback, and you'd say if they can sort one, they're probably in the best place to make a run. But they've got a lot of problems. And then the West, Seattle coming off a really bad year. They've got pieces that they can use, but they're not quite ready. The 49ers, we don't know who their quarterback is next year. We assume it's Trey Lance. We don't know. They've got things they need to sort. They've got no running backs under the roster for next year. And then, as I said, with the Rams, no O-line next year, effectively, especially if Whitworth goes. If Whitworth stays, that's a massive thing. If they can convince him to stay, that's a massive thing. Like, they'll be able to probably piece together a functioning O-line. I don't think it'll be as good as this year's, but I think it'll be functional. So, I mean, let me ask you a question. I'm keen to get your opinion on some of the players in the game, and now they've got a ring. Does that cement their status as a potential Hall of Famer? And I've got 4 names for you. I'm going to start with Aaron Donald. Does he get in the Hall of Fame now? If he retired tomorrow, which he's pondering.
I think he would. Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah, I'd say probably does. Cooper Kupp?
Before this year, I'd say no. If he won the ring last year, I'd say no. But what he's actually achieved this year, I think only Jerry Rice has done, and he did it over the span of a career, and Cooper Kupp's done it all in 1 year, in one season. Which, does it make him Hall of Fame worthy on one season? It's a tough call, but I could see either side of that, to be honest with you. I could see why they put him in, and I could see why some wouldn't, if that makes sense. For me to win the Triple Crown, Super Bowl, MVP, I'd say he's got to go in for it.
I think he's short, but I think he's now got a good chance. But the problem with Cooper Kupp is he only has 5,500 yards in his career. Almost 2,000 of them this season. In fact, over 2,000 this season. So when we look at his career, he doesn't quite have the numbers that stack up. But he's still got time. Like, that's the thing.
Where is he on the touchdowns? Is he up to the 100 touchdowns?
No, he's got 40 in his career.
Oof.
But I mean, he's only been in the league 5 years. So I mean, if he can play another 5 years, if he can get to 10,000 yards or near there,
and 100 touchdowns,
I don't even think he needs 100 touchdowns. I think if he can get to 70 touchdowns, 10,000 yards, 9,000 yards, I think he gets in. So I think he needs a couple more years playing, but I think he's on the track now, and this will help. Jalen Ramsey, I mean, again, he's still quite a young player, but if he continues on this trajectory, is he going to go in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, probably. For me.
And then the last one is Matt Stafford.
I'd probably say no. Until this year, he hadn't won a playoff game. So, okay, he's now gone on and won 4. Great, but was he now 4-4? I guess, and 4 wins, 4 losses in playoff football.
Yeah, which is about what Aaron Rodgers is. He's about 500 in his career.
Yeah,
he's won the same amount of rings as Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
I keep going backwards and forwards on it because in my head I'm like, well, yeah, he didn't do anything, and then I look back at it and think, but he won a ring. He won a ring.
Stafford realistically has got 3 years with the Rams, I'd say.
Don't even think
maybe
that.
2.
I think he's got maybe another year, maybe 2.
I would say he needs to at least make NFC Championship games with both of those to become Hall of Fame considerable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he needs to lead that team to a modicum of success routinely to be able to have a shout. The other one you haven't mentioned was Von Miller. I
think Von Miller gets in.
Me too. That's an easy one then.
Yeah, I didn't put him in there because I thought, I automatically think if you as a defensive player win an NFL a Super Bowl MVP, you're likely to get in. I know Dexter Jackson didn't, but I tend to think it's so rare that happens. And now he's got a second ring. Yeah, I'd be shocked.
And his impact on the games as well. He's tied for 4.5 sacks over 2 Super Bowls. So
yeah, I can't see Von Miller not getting in. So I didn't ask that because I just thought it was a gimme. Okay. So it's interesting. What do you think about the legacy of the Rams now? So, like, this Rams team. I mean, we know it's going to be hard for them to repeat. But do we look back at the last few years, the Sean McVay era, 2 Super Bowls, 1 won, 1 lost, made the playoffs I think all years they've made the playoffs. Do we think this is kind of like the peak of the Rams? And if it is, what are your thoughts on this team over the last sort of 4 or 5 years and what their legacy is going to be when people tell the story of the Rams and this little period of football that they've had over the last few years under McVay?
I think they've been built into this moment all of that time. Obviously, they haven't had a first-round draft pick in God knows how long. You look at it this year and say that they've gone all in on the pieces they need and picking up Von Miller and OBJ mid-season to try and complete the set and go for it. And they achieved it. So well done them. As you just said, though, they don't have a draft pick in the first 2 days moving forward. And I don't know what they're like in 23 onwards, but it's going to be very hard to maintain a level of consistency the way that they've gone and achieved it for me. And I don't know. The biggest thing I think for the Rams at the minute is that the move to LA, the SoFi Stadium. We talk about a legacy they've got. They've actually now endeared themselves to a local population. There's a generation of football fans there that don't have allegiances that will suddenly now. Kids do, right? How many kids in our country support Man United because they were winning stuff in the 90s and so on? So if you live there, yeah, great. You can jump on the bandwagon of a winning team now and be a supporter for life. So I think that will be the Rams' legacy. Is it'll actually put the organisation in a better stead moving forward for years to come. In terms of the team's legacy, I don't know. I don't think they've got a lot left in them now.
But do you think then, just on that, Jack said about Stafford, he didn't do anything because he played for the Lions. I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
Do you think then, with regards to just on that point of where they've been growing, where they're going to, if they hit a sudden decline now. So let's say they sort the O-line out. Let's say that they have one more go at it in 22. We think after that will probably be this peak period done. Are they not in danger of being overtaken by Herbert and company and the Chargers, who have got a young team with a great young quarterback? Mm-hmm. Do we not think that they are in danger, the Rams, of this legacy of, well, that was good, but half of it wasn't in LA. Half of it was in St. Louis. The last Super Bowl, they were the St. Louis Rams.
Yep.
That actually, this as people are starting to turn and go, oh yeah, the Rams, the Chargers could sneak on up. And I don't know the answer, but let's say the Chargers win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Are they in danger, the Rams, of being the sideshow in LA for the next 10 years if that happens? Or not?
For me, no, because they've got to the finish line first. So that generation of kids that are out playing football on the streets and the car parks are being Cooper Kupp right now and are being Matt Stafford. And I think once you pick an allegiance to a team, it's very seldom changed. The Chargers in 2 years' time, let's say, win a Super Bowl, and they'll have a similar thing. But I think that bulk of people that are looking to follow someone would have picked up the Rams following this. So I think they've put themselves ahead of the curve on that. I mean, do you agree, or do you think there's a chance the Chargers could?
I think it's interesting. I think this is a really important period for Chargers history in LA because I think they have to now be successful, or they're always going to be little brother, and they could be really in trouble. I think they're going to they need to make the playoffs next year. Have to do it. And then I think they need to win a Super Bowl to try and keep pace with the Rams and have two relevant LA teams.
Coming out of their division and then coming out of the AFC is going to be no mean task.
Well, yeah. In fact, here's a question right now. We were talking about this at 4 a.m. when we'd all had a few to drink.
I don't recall a lot of it then, probably. Yeah.
No. So I'm going to put this on camera now because one of the things we talked about, I think you might mention this, is you thought that the Bengals are the favourites, or one of the favourites in the AFC next year.
Yes.
And so let's go through division by division now as it stands. And obviously a lot can change. So we're not going to nail to the masts because we haven't even had free agency in the draft yet.
No, but it's fun, right?
But yeah, but
Super Bowl's over. Let's look ahead to next year.
Let's look ahead to next year. Division by division.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the favourites in each division and then let's try and see where this road goes. So we'll start in the AFC because that's the stacked division.
Okay.
You've got let's go with the East. So you've got the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Right now, do you think, who would you say is a strong favourite? And would you say that they're a lock, or do you think they're in a battle with another team or two teams in that division?
I think the Bills will win the division. The Patriots were ahead of schedule this year, I think, making the playoffs with a rookie QB, and they can never be discounted. But I think the Bills are a better side for me, so I think they'll win the division, but I wouldn't discount the Patriots causing an upset and upsetting the apple cart. I'm also looking forward to seeing what Mike McDaniel can do into Miami and seeing how he looks to build that offense over there. So as for the Jets,
yeah, and there's nothing against the Jets fans. It's just tough. I think that's a tough division. I agree with you. I'd probably lock the Bills right now, but I think the Patriots could definitely give a run. And I wouldn't discount Miami from a playoff berth.
It's a little unknown at the minute, isn't they, Miami?
Yeah, a little unknown. If they get a run game going there and Tua takes a step forward, I think there's a chance that they could, be in that 5-7 conversation with the Patriots. It wouldn't shock me if those three teams got in into the playoffs as things stand next year. I think it'll be a battle, but I think they're in the conversation, and I think the Jets fans are. I think Jets fans, if you're looking at next year and you let Zach Wilson have a go off the break, and let him just play, because he was held back this year for me. He was pretty much just told just to play it safe, and I think you just got to let him rip and see what happens. I think if you can get 7-8 wins, I think you'd be quite happy with that.
Coming out of that division,
see progress.
Wins, You're right.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. If you can get 7-8 wins, even 6 wins with some progress, I think you'd probably be quite happy as a Jets fan. So let's move to the West. Got the Chiefs, Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Broncos up for sale, of course, and they have a new coaching staff, and they've got Nathaniel Hackett. And Raiders were in the playoffs. The Chargers, arguably
inches
the more talented roster of the two, but didn't get in because their D was really bad, which he shouldn't have been. And then the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Do we think the Chiefs are going to run away with the division again this year, or do we think there's a real battle this year?
I don't think they'll run away with the division, but I think they are the best team in the division. And I think that even this year they had their struggles coming out the gate early on, and they managed to work through them, and that's a sign of a very good team. And obviously still made the championship game there. So I don't know that it can't carry on forever, but the Chiefs will still have enough about them. I think Bieniemy's still there at the minute. And they're not going to lose any major big pieces, I wouldn't have thought. So
no, I don't think they're at risk of losing significant pieces. And I think the Chiefs. But I tell you what, I've got an eye on the Raiders. I think Josh McDaniels is a great hire. I think if anyone's going to get Derek Carr back to that, I'm not going to say MVP level, but that top level that he can potentially get to. I think Josh McDaniels unlocks that. I think they've got talent. They've got picks. I think they need to do some work. But listen, they're a playoff team from this year, and I don't see them getting worse. So I think they're a real interesting dark horse next year in the AFC. As are the Chargers. You know, they didn't get in, but they have a very talented group of players. They need to fix the D. And Brandon Staley is a defensive guru. So if they can sort that out, then you'd have to look at that and say, well, if he fixes the D, they're a playoff team.
Right.
I mean, I don't really know. I don't know who one of those teams is going to miss out on the playoffs. I don't know who it is, but one of those teams is going to miss out. I would give it to the Chiefs right now, but I think it's close. And Denver, I think Denver have to look at this season and think, I mean, if Denver get Aaron Rodgers tomorrow, or when the league year opens, that changes the whole conversation, because you have to look at them and go, well, they got a great D, they'll have a QB, they'll have an offense. I mean, it would be maddening. Like, that might be the best division of all time. You look at those 4 teams, and it will blow it wide open. But right now, it's the Chiefs. Let's go to the South. I think for me, this is the easiest division. And I'd hand it to the Titans. I don't think the Colts are. If they move on from Wentz, I don't know what they're going to move on to that's better. They haven't got a first round pick, so they can't draft a better QB. I don't think there's a better QB in free agency that they want to tie their hands to long term.
Nope.
So I don't really know what the Colts are going to do.
Just going to skirt on the fringes like they seem to do every year since Peyton left.
Yeah, Texans, massive rebuild. That's going to take years.
Yep.
The Jags, they'll get better with Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, but
I'd like to see the Jags go and get him a proper wide receiver one. I'd hate for this to happen, but someone like Chris Godwin going into Jags to help Trevor Lawrence would be an awesome pickup for them, I think.
Yeah,
change their outlook.
But it would do, but they could draft one as well, and there's some good receivers in this class. I don't think they should be paying top dollar for a wide receiver when you're not going to get the best years, because I think there may be a 5-6 win team next year. And you've got other holes, but I'd draft one. I think I'd draft one and try and find one for Lawrence long term and try and work that out. But I think the Titans, most of that team's coming back. They'll be efficient. They'll get it done.
I don't think they've got a lot left, because a lot of the main parts of the Titans are starting to age a little bit now.
Yeah.
Tannehill, Henry, obviously Julio's there. I'd almost say, I don't know what contracts are like, but this could be their last kind of year locked into that. Win the division, and that's your chance. They had the 1 seed this year for what it done for them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't see him winning a Super Bowl with that team, but I could definitely see him being competitive with that team. And then we move to the North, and again, this is a really interesting division. You've got the Bengals who are the champs. You've got the Ravens who pushed it close with no team really at the end of it.
Yep.
You've got the Steelers who have all the pieces. They made the playoffs with a quarterback who was finished.
Yep.
And Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. And then you got the Browns who, don't forget, they've got weapons. They've got a team. I mean, that's a hard division. I mean, for me, I'd make the Ravens favorites, but I wouldn't say there's a lock here. I think any team could win it, and I think it all depends on what these teams draft and where they try and fix things. Because as much as you say Joe Burrow and they're in the Super Bowl, I think there's a Super Bowl hangover coming. Yep. I do think they can get over it. I do think they can make the playoffs, and I think this team's special. Don't get me wrong. But I think, an O-line takes time to gel, and I think they're going to have to take some time. And it's going to be whoever wins those two games between the Ravens and the Bengals will win the division. I think it's literally going to come down to those two games.
What pieces the Bengals add to it? I mean, I think the Ravens would have won the division this year if Lamar stayed healthy for it all.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think if Lamar Jackson stays healthy, I think if they're not going to have the injury luck that they had this year. It's just not. No. It's not possible. So they're going to have better luck this year, and if they can keep their players on the field, you have to look at the roster and the way they're built and go, that's probably the best team in that division. And that's no disrespect to Joe Burrow. That's no disrespect to the Bengals. Far from it. I love this Bengals team. I think they're terrific. I think they have every chance of winning the division, but I think I look at this Ravens team and think they're built to win now with a quarterback who's very difficult to defend. 3 years now. I don't think that they're ready to win a Super Bowl, but I do think the way that they get it done, they were the one seed with no players at one point in this season, and I think they just ran out of gas. I think if they get that sorted, they'll be fine. So
you mentioned a Super Bowl hangover for the Bengals. I actually think they'll be okay. I think the way they've approached, especially the playoff games where they've had some adversity and been behind, and the kind of no fear type, let's get up and achieve it attitude that they took to it. And I think this will push them on. And normally when you get a Super Bowl team that loses, you've got some aging characters on there, you've invested a bit, so people are out of contract and you can't afford to keep them because you're right normally on that line of this is us now. I don't feel the Bengals are there. They've got a young enough squad that nearly all of them will come back. All of them will be under contract. I just see them adding to it. They need O-line and D-line. And the D-line was okay yesterday, to be fair, but they need some O-line in there. I think they'll just get better. I do believe it's between them and the Ravens in the AFC North. I think that the Steelers will probably be around the 500 mark again. And I discount the Browns personally, but it does depend on the mentality. But what we've seen during this season and the games they've had, I think the mentality is going to be okay.
I think it's fascinating because you've got two very different quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And my head and my heart say I'd rather have Joe Burrow, but it's just something in the way that Lamar does things, that he wins games on his own, that I just think, I don't know. I'm so conflicted. Right? I think it's such a tough division. I really do. Who would you say on that AFC side, if you had to pick an AFC championship game right now? Just on what we know now, and this could all change. Who would be your AFC championship game next year?
Ravens, Bills, depending on how the seasons fell.
Wow, okay. I'd say I have the Bills. I'd go Chiefs, Bills.
Okay.
I just think the Chiefs are just they're going to steamroll, and I think Josh Allen is primed to do it.
I think the Chiefs, Tampa broke the Chiefs, and the game plan and the strategy they went to that Super Bowl with, people tried to replicate it early this season, and the Chiefs were arrogant enough. I think they didn't change what they were doing. They just believed they were that good that they could work their way out of it, and eventually, I guess they did. Jack's there with Chiefs, Bills, so I don't know.
I just think you got to remember that if the Chiefs score in the AFC title game right before the half, they win that game. I'm convinced they win that game. It's too big a gap. So they're really one play from making it to the Super Bowl again.
2 yards, aren't they? Yeah.
And people talk about the start of the season with the Chiefs and go, well, they were predictable and all this. They're a brand new O-line. That takes time to gel. It does. They literally changed 4/5 of that O-line. It was always going to be sloppy in the beginning. So I'm Chiefs Bills. I just think it could all change, but right now I can't see past that. Let's quickly do the NFC and then we'll sign off.
Oh, yeah.
NFC North. This has got to be the easy one, right? This can't be hard.
Lions. No, sorry, what? You say it's the easy one. It's the Packers, depending on what situation they're in. If Jordan Love's under center and Devontae Adams is gone, is it the Packers?
Well, no. I guess you'd have to go with the Vikings.
Yeah, probably would for consistency. The team they've got would be the most settled and consistent. Justin Fields is probably going to come into the Bears. How impactful he is throughout the season, I guess, remains to be seen. But
God, I tell you what, if you take Rodgers out of that division,
Rodgers and Adams away from that team, and that division's a mess, just like the South.
It's worse. I think it's worse than the South.
Do you reckon? No.
Yeah, I do. I do think it's worse than the South.
Yeah.
And I'm not being disrespectful to the Lions and the Bears here. The Lions just have no players. They just have no players at all. And they'll win 3 or 4 games, and good luck to them. And they'll get some players, fine. I think the Bears are going to try and rebuild on defense. I think that's going to take time. I think they're a 6-win team. The Vikings, again, you got a new coach. You got to remember that 3 teams there have a coach that have been there a year or less.
So
it's going to be fluxy all the way. I just think there's no consistency in that division.
Nope.
So I think the Fleur with Jordan Love could still probably win that division, but we'll see. I'd go Packers right now, but I think it could be the Vikings. I think they're the only team that could challenge next year. Let's do the we'll do the East. This again, Cowboys. I don't even think that's close.
No, sorry, Jack.
Yeah, I think the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to tread 500. I think the Giants.
Well, I think it could be dark horse.
Yeah,
if they can pick up a quarterback. They lost Curtis Samuel this season.
They're going to draft a rookie, right? They're going to draft a rookie quarterback. A rookie quarterback is probably in this class. I do not think is going to elevate them into a playoff run.
No.
I just don't. So
they're just a quarterback away from actually being competitive. I think. They lost Chase Young this year as well to injuries. I do think the basis is there to compete, and I'm not saying they'll win the division, but I think they'd make.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe. I think there's a chance, but yeah, I can't look past Dallas. I think you'd have to handle
Dallas
the division now.
in the division. Yeah.
I still think right now, I look at things as they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
If Dallas don't go to the NFC title game next year, Mick McCarthy has to be fired.
Right.
Has to be fired because it's all set up for Dallas now because they're the only team that can remain intact, pretty much.
Yep.
They'll make a few changes, but they're relatively intact. All the other teams are going to go through flux. We just talked about this. For me, they have to make the NFC title game. Anything less than that, people have to go. They have to go. Unless injuries, like you get significant injuries, you lose Dak, you lose half a dozen players, maybe, then I'll change that opinion.
Can't account for that.
Yeah. Right now, I think if they don't make the NFC title game, it's a poor season. Let's do the West. I'm gonna be bold here, and I'm gonna say Arizona.
Are you? I had a team tipped to win the division this year, and it didn't quite come out. But I had the Niners to win the division this year, and I think adding Trey Lance potentially, it's going to be weird. But I think it'll give them another dimension to the game that may just be enough.
I just think he's going to take too much time to settle.
Maybe.
I think they haven't got the running backs that will take a bit of time. Yep. I think they need to click that offense, and I think they'll be up there, but I'd go with Arizona because it looks like Murray's going to stay. I know there's these issues. I can't see him going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. No.
Do I think it's the same team? It's the same team as last year, but they're a year together. And I think that's a big thing. And I just think they'll win the division. only because I think the Rams will struggle without an O-line. If they can fix that, I'll flip it. But I think
They've also got the motivating factor of a home Super Bowl, which is becoming a common theme now, right?
Yeah, you might as well bank it. Put all your money on Arizona. It's done deal.
A common theme.
Yeah, I think Arizona could win that division next year. Let's go to the South quickly. I can't look past the Bucks. I can't, even without a quarterback.
They need a serviceable quarterback, and they'll be fine. They'll win that division.
I think they can win. I think they win the division with Andy Dalton. I genuinely do.
Yeah, a serviceable Mitchell Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Teddy Bridgewater. One of them, we win that division.
Matt Ryan isn't good enough to win the division, and they're going to roll with him next year because they have to. He's under contract.
Yeah.
The Panthers have Darnold under contract. They can't do anything. So, and the Saints are probably going to be the number one pick. I can't see where they're going to get 2 wins next year.
Okay.
I genuinely can't see where they're going to get wins.
I mean, they're the Saints, so they probably will pick up 6 because that's what they tend to do every year.
Yeah, maybe 6 would be a phenomenal effort. 6 would be a phenomenal effort for the Saints. If they win 6 games next year, Dennis Allen should be considered coach of the year.
But
because
the thing is, they've got 2 games against the Falcons and the Panthers. So, I mean, just the bigger mess as they are.
But they've got no quarterback, right? They've got a running back who's arrested.
Taysom Hill, wouldn't they? So
yeah. Okay, still no quarterback. You've got a running back. You've got a running back at quarterback. You've got a no running back if Kamara gets done in this charge. You've got no wide receivers.
Well, Michael Thomas has moved back to New Orleans.
Okay, you've got Michael Thomas. I apologize.
How he'll be coming back after 2 years effectively
2 years out
from the game is a long time.
So you've got one good wide receiver who's been out best part of 2 years.
Yeah.
You've got an offensive line that is average. You've got a defensive line that's okay. You've got no secondary, except for Malcolm Jenkins, who's getting on a bit. Linebackers are okay, not bad, but you're 60 million in the hole in cap. People are going to have to go. I just don't see how they can do anything. I don't see how they can do anything. Because you can't go to free agency because you can't afford to sign anyone. You can't keep kicking the money. If I'm the Saints here, I'm playing for the 1 pick. Let's eat the money. Let's eat the money. Let's go be crap for a year. Let's not sign anyone. Let's just go run it out for a year. We'll pay the debts. We'll eat all the cap.
We'll literally a reset.
Yeah, just literally. Let's just go be 1-16 this year and be done with it. Get the first round pick, get the first overall pick, get yourself your quarterback because the 2023 class is good at quarterback from what I can see in the early days of it. I think there's some good names. Go get your quarterback there. You can get out of the Taysom Hill contract. You probably get rid of Michael Thomas at that point because he's older. And you can reset. You probably get rid of the Kamara contract because at that point you probably don't need him and he's probably a bit old at the position. And then I think you can just do a full reset with a young QB and build. But yeah. And then NFC title game.
It's hard to look past I've got the Niners winning that division, so I'm going to have to go Niners, Cowboys. On the assumption there is no Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
So I also go the Cowboys. I'm going to go Cowboys. I'm going to go Cowboys, Arizona. I'm going to go Cowboys, Cardinals. I just think they're going to put it together. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't think it's going to look amazing. And I'll say this right now. I cannot see an NFC team winning the Super Bowl next year.
Me and Jack spoke about that over breakfast this morning, that the difference in golf between the AFC and the NFC and the quarterbacks and the way their teams are led and so on is such that the last 2 Super Bowls have been NFC teams. And if you go back a time when it was the old NFC that was dominant, the AFC sprung in a few Super Bowls because the teams just end up beating each other up in the playoffs and the route in. So I wouldn't be surprised on the day if an NFC team did step up.
Someone's just asked the question. 15 unrestricted free agents, which include Von Miller, Sony Michel, OBJ, combined take up 23 million. Would you bring those 3 back?
OBJ, no. He's going to be done for 8-10 months. So that's Christmas. So I don't think they'll sign it.
I don't know. I reckon he's the one you could sign now. I think you could go to OBJ and say,
yeah, but you may not be able to use him.
Well, 8 months is October.
Yeah.
He's young enough. He's not really had this kind of injury before. ACLs aren't what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're the Rams and you're thinking we've got one more year of this, I think you can sign him to a cheap $4 million deal. Right? Which is more
the injury would allow that if you weren't injured.
And that's what I mean. I think you can work something out with the injury, without the injury. I think you can.
Yeah.
And it shows a sign of faith to OBJ. Look, you scored in the Super Bowl. We're going to give you a deal. No one else is going to give you a deal because you're not going to pass a medical.
Yeah.
We will sign you to a deal. And then we'll revisit it based on how we do at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
Because I can't see anyone giving OBJ a long deal. So I think now that injury weirdly probably keeps him in LA. I was kind of curious to see what would happen. Sony Michel, absolutely no chance. There's no chance Sony Michel stays. I think you've got Henderson, you've got Akers. Michel was only signed because Henderson got hurt. That was the only reason. They're both healthy. That's not going to happen.
Von Miller, or a cheap free agent somewhere as a running back free, weren't they? So
Von Miller depends on the money.
It depends on the retirement and if he wants to be there. Let's face that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the age. It depends on the money. I don't think they can afford to pay Von Miller. I think that's the problem. I think if Von Miller wants a final payday in the NFL, he's not getting it in LA because they can't afford it. The $10 million over the cap. So if he wants to play one more year and go all in with a ring and play for like $5 million, I could see that. But I think the money's too difficult to make it happen. I think they would love to sign him. I don't think they can get it done. Sony Michel, no chance. I just think he's gone. OBJ, I think, of the three, is the one that I think can stay now because I think they can just show that faith and say, I know you're expecting a big payday. That's not going to happen. We'll give you a chance to showcase. You're happy here.
Come back. End of season deal, perform and then back in the next year, and then you can go get your payday from there.
And they might even pen something along those lines that says, if you hit these incentives, we'll sign you to X deal. I think it's a great question. Appreciate it.
It's only OBJ I see. I don't see any of them potentially being in a Rams jersey. The injury, as you say, with OBJ might be enough to keep him in town. But without the injury, I don't think we'd see any three of them as a Ram again.
I'm just looking at Von Miller. He's only 32, so he could still play another couple of years. But I think he's going to want a deal. I think he's going to want a decent deal. And I just don't think he's going to get that. I just don't think he's going to get that in LA. So I think he's a good signing for someone. You're not going to get many players like that in free agency too often. So
no.
I definitely think he's someone that people should be looking at to pick up. But yeah, all in all, it's like I said, it's an interesting season now. Now we get free agency. So, although the season's kind of ended, the new season kind of starts in 2 weeks with the combine. Free agency starts a month tomorrow.
Here we go again.
And we go again. And it's going to be great to start getting under the skin in the next season because I think we've seen this now with the last two Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The last two Super Bowls were won in free agency. Rams did it this year, and with trades and we were aggressive. Bucks did it the year before. That we're talking about teams that we think could win it all next year. Who's going to have the cojones to push it all in and go for it? Because I think it's whoever makes the biggest moves in free agency. If it's one of the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, the Rams, whoever goes big might just win it.
I think the Cards will. I think they struggled this year. JJ Watt missed games. DeAndre Hopkins missed games. They're both liable to miss games again next year. So I think they might be the ones that, as I say, look at the opportunity they've got and try and just tie it down. And you're still on mute, Murph.
Yeah, sorry. Just because I was coughing.
That's fun.
Well, yeah, and just quickly, because I know we're going to wrap this up, and
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the 2022 free agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the players who you think could help you get a ring. We just talked about Von Miller. Von Miller looks like
He'll make the defense better, right? So
so you look at Von Miller. You got the guard, Brandon Sheriff. He's a great guard, probably the best guard in the game. Allen Robinson, he's coming into his prime. I know he's coming off a bad year. Chandler Jones, he could have a massive impact. Chris Godwin, Nate Solder, Nate Solder, Devontae Adams, Dante Fowler, Tyrone Matthew is a free agent. Andrew Norwell, Stephon Gilmore, Calais Campbell, but he's getting on in age. JPP, Akeem Hicks, he's only 32. Joe Hayden, decent cornerback, although he's getting on a bit in age.
Mate, the Rams just won with Eric Weddle coming out of retirement after 2 years. So
Ryan Jensen, but I think he probably stays in Tampa. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Andy Dalton, Matt Paradis, good center, again getting on a bit. Kyle Fuller, he's only 30. Jason Kelsey.
There's some pieces there.
Hey, there is. Anthony Barr. I mean, there's some good. Dante Hightower. Zach Ertz. Patrick Peterson. I think he's gone, to be honest. Clowney. He hits free agency again. Juju.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, there's some. I'm just looking at Quandre Diggs. He was a great safety this year. I mean, there's some Emmanuel Sanders, although he's getting up in age. AJ Green again. I mean, there's a few players definitely hitting this free agency market.
Mike Williams at the Chargers as well.
Mike Williams. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players here that can make a significant impact to teams and help them get better. So it's who is going to be aggressive now, who is going to be aggressive and make those moves. We look forward to seeing it. We're only got a month to wait until the days themselves. We'll sort some podcasts out for them.
Yeah. Can't wait. I'll go to bed in a minute, though.
I think let's call this one a day. I mean, great Super Bowl.
It was a great year. It's a great way to end it off, isn't it? Yeah.
So much has happened. By the way, so just some final things for me, housekeeping. One, if you want to win yourself an Antonio Gibson jersey, tune into our special show on YouTube, which is our Super Bowl special. Some of the content in there is still going to be relevant, especially the interview at the end with Rick Stroud. So check that out. Follow the instructions on YouTube, and you can win a signed Antonio Gibson jersey. Someone's just messaged Garoppolo to Steelers. He's going somewhere. Could go to the Steelers. I actually don't think that's a bad move. I'd endorse that. I think that's a good team. Tomlin gets the best out of him. Secondly, thanks to the Warrior Bowl for co-hosting and doing most of the work, to be perfectly honest.
Last night.
On the charity night last night, £1,900 raised for charity and great causes. So thank you so much to everyone who turned up. We loved meeting you all. And thanks for taking part and indulging. And hopefully we can do it again next year. But yeah, hats off to the guys at Warrior Bowl. They were brilliant and tenacious in doing that. And don't forget, we're still giving away FFCC spots year 4. I'm working on getting some of the best in the industry into the event. Got some confirmed. There's going to be a few more joining over the coming weeks. You can pretty much buy your way in right now by buying a ticket for you and your commissioner. £10 donation, see our pinned tweet. You can join in there and just keep checking out content I'm writing over at Fantasy Pros. I've got a link in my bio. You can see that. I'm doing a lot of work on running back rookies right now, so go check that one out there as well. So yeah, but thanks to everyone who's donated time, effort, money. So many great things going on right now. And we'll continue. And I'd love to give the Antonio Gibson jersey away. I think we still need 21 entrants in order to make that happen. So go sign in on YouTube, subscribe, hit the giveaway button, follow the instructions, and we're going to send it out to someone, hopefully. So make sure you do that.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Dan?
No, mate, I'm doing nothing.
You
I'm
do
not giving away any jerseys. I'm not writing articles. I'm going to sit back, start looking at the draft, start looking at fantasy drafts, do my prep for my rookies. Yeah, take some time out to try and enjoy it, I guess, and learn a bit more. Same as you do every year. No matter where you're at, you can always learn a bit more, and now's the time to do it.
100%.
So that's my plan.
Love it. Love it.
But first, I'm going to bed.
And on that bombshell, we wish you good night. And as always, don't forget, keep rushing.